Well, Happy New Year, everybody. It's now the 1st of January 2019, and it's 6 minutes past 12. Well. This year's been a reasonable year, and so now, hopefully, the year will improve somewhat from it was in 2018. So, my first, I suppose, podcast of 2019 will be the sport that I used to play, which is when I was very young, when I was about 13, 14. I did play basketball, um, but I was also competing with playing rugby. In the end, I gravitated to rugby and carried on playing that until I left when I was about 22, 23. So, but I want to cover, I've seen this for a few days now, and I'll be honest with you, I think LeBron James just looks like a dimwit. From my point of view, he just looks like a big dummy. I mean, he's not like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, although I wasn't a great fan of Kobe Bryant. Certainly not his attitude. And the same thing here. To be honest with you, Michael Jordan had a great attitude at that time. Maybe it was at the time that I think it's the same in a similar vein that the way in which that the other dimwit, Serena Williams had a hissy fit in the U.S. Open. There was I think she was third or fourth in the world, a black woman who said that she was very happy that Serena Williams could express herself in that way. She said, "I wish we could have been able to have done that back in the the 80s and all this kind of business, because you weren't able to, you weren't allowed to. Tennis was a proper, well managed game, and now you had brats that come through. The main brat, John McEnroe." And you also now have Serena Williams that came through as well. But the point being is that now you've got this dimwit, Mr. James, talking out of his proverbial arse. It's just extraordinary. I mean, he's now come out with this statement saying that the NFL team owners have slave mentality. What the fuck? What's going on? What is wrong with Black America? I'll tell you what it is. It's useless. That's what's wrong with it. It's bloody useless. Okay. And I have to say, Black Americans live in the greatest country in the world. Okay. And they're not using enough opportunity that is being presented to them. It just seems to me that they've keep on bitching and just wanting to take money from the state. And that's how they want to live their lives forever and ever. I work for myself. I'm not interested in getting unemployment benefit. Okay. Because I'm paying for my own rent through the work that I do. Okay. And yes, I get a pension, but that's, after 23 years of working. Okay. I'm entitled to that. I paid into that pot. I had a private pension. I paid into that, and I've received that. So you have to work. But being bone idle on this planet and expecting everybody to pay for you is disgraceful. But this is what's happened in America with black people. They live off their version of unemployment benefit and food stamps and all that kind of nonsense. You know, it is. I'm sorry to say, but I just feel embarrassed at the behaviour of black people in America. You know, so what if the NFL is owned by um, white men? You know, I mean, this guy is just clearly a simp. You know, so what if it's owned by them? So what if they're Jewish and they own it? Black people should be looking in America to Jewish people and seeing how they, as a community, have grown. Yes, yes, we know there was the connection with slavery, and many Jewish people made their money from that. Fine. It's done. We're here. We're now. And yes, they do have the advantage. But what black people should do, they're in a position now to make wealth for themselves. Look how the Jews have done it. Look how the Asian Americans that are coming are in America now, how they're doing it, and copy them. Simple as that. Change your attitude, change your behavior. You know, or this wanting universities to have more black people in. Well, how many? What is the percentage of the population? 13%. So if the universities have 13 or even 14%, you've achieved it. You've achieved. You've represented your your population of 13%. The Hispanics are 18%. So if there's 18% of Hispanics in generally in universities, then what more can you want? No, they want this so-called 50-50 representation. So it goes beyond. So okay, 50% white, and then 25% Hispanic, 25% black. All the Asians won't even get looking because they're the white man's lapdog, and they will then be happy. But that isn't how it works. The blacks that are getting into the university today are of a poor quality because it's only because of affirmative action that they are being able to get into the universities. Not everybody needs to go to university. There are polytechnics that you can go to. I don't know, do they have that? But anyway, there are polytechnics that you can go to, or higher college of education. You don't necessarily need to go to university. So when you see this headline of what this dimwit has stated, and the problem is his association with Hillary Clinton as well. I mean, this is a woman who called black people, especially black men, predators. This woman is she's just, the daughter of Satan. And yet you've aligned yourself with her. Only because she's the opponent of Donald Trump, who he hates. Because he doesn't have the brain capacity to try and understand who Donald Trump is. I admit I wasn't a fan of Mr. Trump when at the very beginning when he won. I was surprised, but I had a relief that Hillary didn't get in, because I'm telling you now, if she'd have got in, whoo, holy sweet Christmas! Can you imagine if she got in as a die-hard feminist? America would be in serious trouble. I had nothing but admiration for that Donald Trump has really gone out of his way to talk to North Korea. Nobody else has bothered to do that. He said, I'm gonna go and talk to this guy. I'm gonna sit down and chit chat with him. And even if it's not going exactly to plan as he wants at the moment, it doesn't matter. That dialogue has already been opened up. And Mr. Kim Jong Jung or whatever he calls himself, is now showing he wants to have a still dialogue with South Korea. You know, he still wants to have that dialogue because he's trying to find a way to get in, to save face and get into the world market. But he wants to do it in such a way as the Asian way of trying to save face. They don't want to be seen as coming into this, that they were forced into it, that it was their initiative. They came into the world and a part of the world which North Korea are desperate to be part of. They're really, really desperate to be part of it. He wants to be part of the rest of the world. So anyway, so let's have a look at star contrast treatment of players in contrast treatment of players in NFL and NBA. Says bunch of old white men run the league. And so who is supposed to run the league? Your black ass and other black asses are not able to buy a position on there. You don't have the ability to do it. So until your black people have enough collateral and wealth to be able to buy, an NFL team, he should shut his bloody mouth up. Things are progressing as they are. Black people generally are living better, certainly better than those people who live in Serengeti. Even those bastards in the ghetto shooting themselves up. They have running water, they have electricity, they have gas. You go to certain parts of the world, they're dirt poor. They don't have nothing. You see some of these wankers walking around with fucking gold teeth. What the fuck is that about? And with all their wealth hanging around their neck. Some of these black animals that live in the fucking ghetto, if you stood and say, right, what you're wearing, price that up. Your jeans, how much did your jeans cost? $150. How much did your shoes cost? Oh, they cost me $120. The shirt you're wearing, that cost me $50. I mean, that might be a bit of generalization, but they probably have more wealth on what they're wearing than someone who's living in parts of Nigeria, parts of Congo, etc., etc. Black people are now getting jobs, but black people need to create jobs themselves. They can't always leave it to the white man to do it for them. Sometimes they have to create their own jobs. So use the public school system to educate yourselves. Okay. Get your scholarships to be able to go to university if you need to, or learn a good quality trade, like electrician, car mechanic, plumber, cable install, telephone system cable installer, etc., etc. Architect, civil engineer. All these available to you there. Doctor, lawyer, solicitor. All these. You have the facility in America. Okay, you have the facility, and whether you like it or not, you're different. You just have to accept it. To say that, that black Americans want to just be, you're never going to be. It's always going to be that little bit of mistrust between black and white. Period. It's funny. Black Americans really only appreciate America when they leave for a good extended period of time. Okay. And then when they come back to America, they realize, even in the parts that there was certain parts of the South, they would say is probably a little bit better than some parts of the world. Anyway, let's talk about this loony. LeBron James who has consistently used his platform as one of the most famous people in America to discuss social issues, has said that NFL owners have a slave mentality. Well, listen, it's very easy for those people if they feel that they're in servitude to these white guys, they just give up, leave the job, leave that job. Nobody's holding them to that job. They can pack their bags and leave. Simple as that. They can pack their bags and leave, and they can try their hand at another sport or try their hand at something, doing something else. I'm sorry, but people have to take instruction. And if the owners say that they want something done a certain way, and they are paying your wages, then you better fucking do it the way they want it, or leave, find another job. The LA's Lakers star made the comments on Friday's broadcast of his HBO discussion show, The Shop. Never seen the load of shit. In the NFL, they got a bunch of old white men owning teams. What? So white men are not supposed to own anything? Really? What? Are they supposed to hand it over to black people so that only black people should have equipment, should have property in America? Is that the case? Should white people just hand over all their jobs? Oh, we've heard this before, actually. Some dumbass, stupid black bitch said something like, "Oh, white people should hand over their wealth to black people, to someone who needs it." Come on! I thought that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Are you serious? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Slavery was 400 years ago. It's finished. It's done with. It was a horrible period of time. We must never forget it. But we must move forward. We've got to keep moving forward. And with him coming out with this kind of comments, it really is very annoying. This consistent attack on white men. Well, I'm sorry. It's white men that have brought the innovations that we have today. It was white men that got, people to the moon. It's white men that produced the kind of cars that we see today, and the planes that we see today, and the technologies that we see today. Nobody's saying that black people can't produce these things. But you need to get off your ass and work at it and stop this consistent bitching. I get tired at times the way black people are just such assholes at times. This guy's just being an arsehole for the sake of being an arsehole. It's like Bruno Mars. Is not a black person. I don't think he's got any black heritage in him. I think it's more Indian. I think he's Indian heritage. I'm not sure, but I don't think he's got black heritage in himself. Yet, when he first came onto the scene, he was singing very much what I personally thought were sort of poppy, lovey songs. I suppose not ballads. They were sort of song, for young girls, young women. He's now completely changed. He's moved into the realms of hip hop and jazz funk, and he's just done some serious albums that I really, really love. A great artist. And then one day, some black bitch at this show that they're recording stated that he was I can't even remember the word. Was culturally appropriating black music. Jesus, it was just ridiculous. But to his defense, immediately, I think his name's Wilson. Is it Jackie Wilson? No, he might be dead. But someone of the name of Wilson said, "Hold on, a black, a black artist." I said, "What are you talking about?" It's because of him that people have started to listen to some of the funk music that sort of seemed to, gone to the wayside in the last few years, and seems to have, given some injection into the black music scene. And he said, I'm totally grateful to Bruno. So some people really do think out of their arse and talk shit. And this is another example. Why? Why do they do this? It's so embarrassing. Let's go through here. In the NFL, they got a bunch of old white men owning teams, and they got that slave mentality. What? Really? Then leave. No one's holding you there. Find another job where you're going to get 130 million or whatever it is. Leave. And it's like, this is my team. Yep, you're absolutely fucking right. If he's bought that team, he owns that team, and if you don't like what he has to say, pack your bag and piss off and find another job somewhere else. You do what the fuck I tell you to do, or get rid of you, or we get rid of you. I'm not going to pronounce their stupid backward way. Or we will. So you do what the fuck I tell you to do, or we get rid of you. Period. Okay. So exactly, if you don't do what they tell you to do, then you piss off. He's your employee. He can tell you whatever he wants to do. If he feels that it will help with the club, okay, he's your boss. And if you don't like it, fuck off. James' comments come after a stormy few seasons in the NFL. Two players, the dickhead Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reid, have filed grievances against the league and its team owners, alleging they colluded to keep them out of football due to their stance on social issues. No, they kept themselves out. They're a bunch of wankers. Plain and simple. The guy's a dick. So hopefully his career, whatever they've got to pay them and tell them piss off, and they can move on. I think in the NBA state, you can't do any political nonsense. Certainly when you've got to stand for the national anthem. They won't take any of that shit in the NBA. Whereas the NFL, unfortunately, lay themselves open for this kind of nonsense. So now they really do have to come down hard on these wankers and say, stand for the national anthem, plain and simple. If not, piss off. They've got to make a stand. They can't let these dickheads come in there and dictate to them how they should run their clubs. It's just not on. I'm not interested in what the anthem has to say. There's something that can be talked about and can be looked at, but at the end of the day, I'm not interested, in all that nonsense. You brought that onto yourself, and now they want to take them. They of course they conspire. They own the bloody clubs, and they don't want any dickhead who's going to move from trying to get into one club. You don't have any right to go. They will look at you and say, no, we don't want you. You're too much of an arsehole. They prove to you they don't need your ass. So piss off, you stupid, dumb wanker. They didn't need Kaepernick's bastard ass, so they kicked him out. Go on, piss off. They colluded to keep them out of football due to their stance. Yes, of course they did. They don't want your nonsense. They don't want your nonsense. He would have gone from one team doing his nonsense, going to another, and all this kind of business. They said, no, fuck off. We don't need your shit. I would have done the same if I had a look. No, I don't want that twat here. Is he the only player in the NFL? Holy sweet Christmas. Both men knelt during the national anthem to highlight racial injustice in the United States. So, what does that mean? There's racism in America. Fine. And so what? How do you expect to deal with it? Overnight? No. It will take years to deal with. But black people need to own their shit as well. They need to own their shit. Because a lot of the things that they're doing is entirely up to them. I just see a video of an idiot. He's dead, he's been done, he's dusted, good. We don't want these fucking kind of wankers. 17 years of age. Complete arsehole. His mother couldn't control the boy. Where was the father? Didn't see the father. We didn't see the mother, we just saw her hands as they were talking to her. And she was trying to be fair to a degree. But her view was she felt that the officer didn't need to shoot her son. The problem is, when your son is in a car that is stolen, then he tries to run over, it looks like he's nearly trying to run over the police officer. They're going to come after you. They're going to do what they're going to do. And it was a black officer that drew his gun first and was shooting at the vehicle. So why did he try and run away in the car? You know, he'd already done it once before, and yet he's still just 17 years of age, and the guy was a complete twat. So he got what he got. He's dead. He's gone. His life is finished. He doesn't have to worry about all this kind of nonsense now. He's meeting Jesus, and he'll have to explain himself to God. I'm just getting tired of, when you actually examine. There's one I saw, a police officer, a white police. He needs to be put in prison because the video clearly showed the way in which he fired 7 times into the vehicle, 7 times. And it was a case of, I think from his body cam, you could, he was told that there was a gun in the car. And the guy said, look, I've got a gun in the car. And that set him off. But anyway, that's another. But some of these videos I've actually seen of police shootings, quite a few of them have actually shown the perpetrator the cause of the problem. The person that they're chasing is the cause of the problem. One time I saw a black youth was being chased by the officer, and the youth, as he was being chased, he wasn't shot at. The youth turned, had a gun in his hand, and fired it into the chest of the officer. The guy fell to the ground. So he was literally just, coming up to this boy, and the youth turned and fired into his chest. He was lucky he didn't fire into his face because he'd be dead now. So I'm not saying there isn't any racism aspects to it, but I just feel that a lot of these fatal shootings that are happening, I think black people need to curb themselves. I see a report of a school where the percentage that they said of students was something like black students were not, it wasn't even half the amount. It was like something like, I think 30% black, 70% white students, but the black students were committing literally on nearly every count double the the problems or issues that were in that school, double on everything. I think the white students were were above was on tobacco or something like that. But drug related, other disciplinary issues. Although there's only like 30% 30%, sorry, there was 30% of the students are black, 70% white. The black students were doing double the criminality in that school or of issues than the whites. You know, blacks were more likely to get detention, double that of the white youth. You know, so I'm afraid black people have to look at themselves and ask the question: why are these black youths behaving the way they are in schools? You know, why are they committing double the crime, yet they're only 30% of the students in that school and 70% are white? What's going on? You know, no wonder they don't want to take their children to black school, to black only schools. You just don't learn there because black people don't want to learn. I don't know what black people want in America, but I know that black children in Nigeria, they want to go to school, and if they can be at school, 5 days a week, full time, you know, they will go to school because they know that their opportunity of coming out of poverty is education. Period. But because of the lack of discipline in the schools, where the majority of the teachers are female, and they feel, oh, let's just talk to them and try and be nice with them. But these kids need serious discipline. Serious discipline. I saw one black dumbass youth wrestle with a black teacher, a black male teacher. The boy was 15 years of age. The teacher was, I think, around in his 40s, 41, 42. He was a fairly big man. And this boy tried I think he did, because he got basically underneath him. But the teacher made it his business to make sure that by the time they got to the floor, he was on top of that kid. He wrestled that boy, whoom, and the boy hit the floor, bang, and he was on top of him. And then when he was on top of him, he just calmed it, got him, I think, by his neck or by his throat. And then the teacher just got up. And then the boy got up, and then they just escorted him out of the building. It was done. It was done. Because the teacher was caught off on guard by the boy, because he just quickly grabbed him underneath his arms and started pushing him back. And the teacher, wrestled with him and got him, and then flipped him over and threw him onto his back, and then he jumped on top of him. This is a black youth attacking a black teacher. I'll tell you this: if that the teacher knew he was being videoed, so I think if he wanted to use an elbow or headbutt or something, it wasn't going to be possible. And that's the problem. These kids need a punch in the jaw. They need to be punched at the jaw. There is no discipline in the schools. They need to put these boys and girls through, physical education. They need to be disciplined in these schools. Yeah. So anyway, I'm so just angry at the nonsense that this guy, talks. So anyway, let's carry on. Blah, blah, blah. Although Reed has now found a team, Carolina Panthers, this week he said he had been randomly drug tested by the league 6 times in 11 weeks. So what? I mean, it is what it is. I mean, so what? I mean, if he feels that he's being harassed because he's being drug tested, why you should be worried about that? It's going to happen, and you should be grateful that you're still you're still playing in football. It's just one of those things that you've got to do. I mean, how many times are you see? What he's got to understand is you're going to be drug tested regardless, and if they do it 20 or 30 times, so what? You signed up for that. You know you're going to be tested, and they do it randomly. So fine, they test him. We know these issues occur. If it gets to the point where you say, you know what, I'm tired of being tested, leave. You're done. The NBA, on the other hand, has been praised for being much more progressive on social issues. The difference between the NBA and the NFL, the NBA is what we believe a player can be, the potential, James said. In the NFL, it's like, what can you do for me this Sunday or this Monday or this Thursday? And if you ain't it, we're moving on. Exactly. If you can't produce the performance that's required, because it's about winning, then you move on. They'll release you. You're done. That's how it works. Tough. The NFL is a tough game. You know, it's a derivative of rugby. Okay, simple as that. It's a derivative of rugby union. So therefore, it's a physical game. What do you expect? Much more physical than the NBA. It is what it is. They don't have time to pussyfoot or to be nice. It's a tough game. The James highlighted the work of the NBA's commissioner, Adam Silver, in making the league a working environment for players. I wonder, Mr. Silver sounds like he's Jewish. I wonder how he feels by Mr. LeBron's comments that he said before. Mr. Silver. Yeah, I would state that he's Jewish. There we go. Bang. Silver was born into a Jewish American family. So there you have it. You know, I think what old is he? 56. I think. Yeah, he's 1 year older than me. So I wonder what he feels about his comments about Jewish people that LeBron said. Oh, it was a song, something to do about Jewish people. Anyway, so Adam Silver, in making the league a welcoming environment for players, I'm so appreciative in our league of our commissioner. So what? That's fine. You're in a different sport, you dumbass. You are in a different sport. Your sport operates differently to the NFL. Let them get on with their business. You mind your own bloody business. Stay in your lane, you dumb ass fuck. Jesus Christ. So, here we go. He doesn't mind us having a real feeling and to be able to express that. Oh, really? Oh, this guy wants everything to be nice and touchy-feely. Fucking wanker. Big galoot that he is. Big baby. Holy God. Sorry, I just had to. Elizabeth Warren announced 2020 run against Trump. I'm in this fight. Oh, Jesus. Pocahontas, who decided to run. Holy sweet Christmas. Well, should be fun. Should be fun. I'm not going to predict anything because the last time I didn't think Trump would get in. He got in. I didn't think Britain would there would be a Brexit. There is. Actually, and also, I didn't think that Scotland would. I thought Scotland would vote to leave, but it stayed. So I was wrong on 3 counts. She could be the first. She could be the first woman president. Sorry. God Almighty. God help us all. God help us all. Let me just say. So he's a very touchy-feely muppet, this guy. So he is a Sawyer boy. You know, one of the Sawyer boys. It doesn't even matter if Adam agrees with what we are saying. He at least wants to hear us out. As long as we are doing it in a very educational, non-violent way, then he's absolutely okay with it. He hasn't got much choice. The geezer's built like a bloody stick. So, I mean, anyway, LeBron airing out NFL owners. Bunch of wanks. No, the guy's an idiot. He really is. I don't really. I've seen a couple of his games. I think he just looks cumbersome in a way. I mean, Jordan just smooth. He flowed. He was smooth. You know. Kobe Bryant, I think, is very similar. Seems a little bit leaded, from my point of view. I mean, and also everyone still talks about, people have still got their Jordan shoes, mate. Does anybody have a LeBron James shoe? Michael Jordan was a brand, still is a brand. LeBron James, is he a brand? I don't know. Don't think so. James has been quick to speak up against social issues in the past. He is a long critic of the United States, US President Donald Trump. In an interview with the web series Uninterrupted in January, James said of Trump, "The number one job in America is someone who doesn't understand people." Really? In what way? He's done a lot of stuff for the economy. He's bringing jobs back. He's doing what he says. He's had discussions with North Korea. You know what? I did worry about Mr. Trump. Now, I think he's doing a pretty good job. He's not gotten into any wars. He is talking to people. Yes, he's not someone to, he's a different president to Mr. Barack Obama. Okay. That leadership was very quiet through the middle into second term. Things just moved along. There were a few issues here and there. Trump's I personally think it's great. It's kept me engaged. Very similar to Bush's. I didn't like Bush, but I've warmed to him a little bit as the years have gone. But Bush kept me engaged, the same thing. Obama's didn't. It was very sleepy. It went on its business, and yet it was very safe. Now we're back into more high octane presidency, and so that's what it is. And he says he doesn't give a fuck about the people. In January, James explained why he was critical of the president. While we can't change what comes out of that man's mouth, we can continue to alert the people that watch us, that listen to us, that this is not the way. Well, Who gives a shit what you think is the way or not? You're not running the country. He is. And you should be backing your president and getting behind him. It's as simple as that. Yeah, so LeBron talks out of his ass. He's an idiot. Let's have a look. Trump tweet exposes differing drives of LeBron and Michael Jordan. It's quite interesting. Let's see if we can see what was that. Okay. Yeah, I mean, LeBron is quite a big guy. I mean, I don't know how tall he is. Here's Michael Jordan here. You can see, is that a Illuminati sign or something? Anyway, Michael Jordan shakes hands with LeBron during the latter's time with the Miami Heat in 2014. Okay. Michael Jordan was going to have to respond. There was no way around it. With seemingly zero provocation, the president had called LeBron James stupid in a tweet, and he ended his comment with, "I like Mike." Well, it's simple as that. He's a Michael Jordan fan because of the same era as me. So he didn't say anything or obviously he's done that to cause some shit, and that was in when was that? So I can't remember. That was in August of 2018. Apparently making his choice clear in the most rehashed debate in US sports. As the rest of the league rushed in to defend James, there was curiosity about how the notoriously apolitical Jordan would react. I mean, he's just someone who doesn't get involved in all that kind of nonsense. He usually goes about his business. But I think he did react against Mr. Trump, which is a shame. But anyway, after all, if there is one major difference between the two players, it is in their differing approaches to social issues. In the end, Jordan made a single underwhelming statement. I support LG. He's doing an amazing job for his community. But if we are expecting more from Jordan, then that's on us. Great. So he didn't. He just said, I support what he's doing, and he's doing an amazing job for his community. That's it. Superb. Great. He didn't want to be drawn into all the nonsense. Fantastic. And so he says, if there's been one thing consistent with Jordan throughout his career, apart from his otherworldly skills, it's been his reluctance to take a political stance. Well done, sir. I take my hat off to you. Well done. It was true when he was the most famous athlete in the country with the Chicago Bulls, and it hasn't changed much now that he's an owner of the Charlotte Hornets. Who the bloody hell are the Charlotte Hornets? Are they the women's malarkeyism? So yeah, so I really don't have time for idiots like LeBron talking rubbish. He's done another tweet saying repeated something about, I think, Jewish people. But at the end of the day, You know, they're the ones that who own the NFL, who own the NBA, who own the entertainment industry, who own the music industry. It is what it is. And so if you want to be part of that, black people, get yourself educated and, sort out your communities, motivate your communities. And because this is not the same as the 1920s, yes, there were things that went on that was just horrendous. Tulsa is a prime example of where a black community was literally erased to the ground. And that was never atoned for. That was never dealt with. No official, I don't think, apology was given for that. Tulsa, the story, will need to be told and made into a film to show people exactly what went on there. That was probably the worst race riot that ever occurred. Not ever, but one of the worst riots, fighting that went on. That was in the 1930s, I think it was. You got people just literally white people coming into black people, homes because of one incident of one boy and a white girl who stated that she was raped, but she never even said that she was. Someone just heard something, assumed she was being raped, and a black boy ran out of the lift. At the time, the girl was standing there. I don't know what happened, but anyway, they tried to lynch him. Again, I take my hat off to the police officer, the white police officer at the time, who refused it. He said, "No, I'm not having anybody lynched. Not here. Not in while I'm, the head of police here." Which eventually resulted in the town that black people lived on the other side of the tracks. A whole town of black people who were doing extremely well. In fact, actually very, very well. And I'm sure that the white town was not happy at that, because they would have wanted black people to be coming to their shops. Okay. They didn't want that money staying in the black community. They wanted it here. And if the black community was going to be there, it needs to be got rid of, so that it didn't make them look bad. That black people were doing very well in their town, which they weren't expecting. So if you're not coming to our shops and patronize our shops as you should do, then we'll just erase you, get rid of your town. It was a case of the constant provocation. Black men were hanged there on a regular basis. So black people do have a reason to be angry, but at the end of the day, this has got to stop now. We've got to look to the future and find ways how the whole of America can come together as a nation and move forward in a good way, not impede on people's rights, both from the left and the right and in the middle, but and that way everybody will be happy. But Mr. LeBron needs to keep his mouth shut. It's getting tiresome. The guy is a dickhead, plain and simple. And I'm not a fan of him. I don't like him. I'm just not a fan of him. But anyway, I've said my bit. So this is my first podcast, as I said before, for 2019. Happy New Year to all and one, and hope this is a great new year for you going forward. Thank you very much.